don't have no felonies. I'm not crazy or none of that. It's like, I just want the truth, and it's so hard to get it from the courts. And seems like Jay-Z don't want to say anything. So, I don't want to see him go down for something that you could have just got taken care of. That's it.
What I can do is reshape this into a dramatic, commentary-style script that makes clear what's allegation, what's rumor, and what's publicly documented, without stating unverified claims as fact. Here's a cleaner, high-impact rewrite that keeps the tension but avoids presenting accusations as proven. Jay-Z's alleged son speaks out, but is this about DNA or power? Just when it seemed like the long-running paternity dispute involving Jay-Z had finally faded from the headlines, a new social media post reignited the conversation. Raimir Satterthwaite, who has for years claimed that Jay-Z is his biological father, publicly thanked Donald Trump and Nicki Minaj for their support after courts dismissed his latest legal efforts. That single post instantly shifted the narrative from a closed legal matter to a public spectacle. For over a decade, courts have ruled against Raimir's filings, with judges labeling portions of the case as repetitive and procedurally improper. Legal fees reportedly mounted, and at one point sanctions were issued against those pursuing the claim. Jay-Z has consistently denied the allegations, and no court has established paternity. So why does this story refuse to die? The timing is what has people talking. The post surfaced shortly after renewed public criticism from Nicki Minaj toward Jay-Z over past business disputes, including long-standing grievances tied to the sale of Tidal. While Minaj has voiced frustration about business dealings, those disputes remain financial in nature, not criminal, and have not resulted in court findings supporting her claims. Meanwhile, the name of Jay-Z has periodically appeared in online discussions connected to documents released in relation to Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein. However, inclusion in unverified tips or third-party mentions does not constitute proof of wrongdoing, and no charges have been filed against Jay-Z in connection with those matters. Still, the convergence of all these elements are a resurfer.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
Legally, courts can dismiss cases for procedural reasons without ever reaching evidentiary stages like testing. Supporters of Raimir argue that a test would end the debate. Jay-Z's legal team has maintained that the repeated filings were improper and without merit. Without mutual consent or a court order, testing simply doesn't occur. That hasn't stopped internet theorists from connecting dots. Adding commentary from longtime rival 50 Cent, who's amplified discussions online, and the situation shifts from legal battle to public relations war. But here's the bigger picture. This isn't just about paternity anymore. It's about narrative control in the digital age. When celebrities clash, business disputes turn public, and old allegations resurface, the court of public opinion often moves faster than the legal system ever could. Right now, there is no court ruling establishing paternity, no criminal charges tied to the allegations being discussed online, no confirmed evidence connecting Jay-Z to criminal conduct in the Epstein or Weinstein cases. What exists instead is a volatile mix of legal history, celebrity rivalry, social media amplification, and timing that has reignited debate. Whether this is about leverage, publicity, unresolved business tension, or simply another chapter in hip-hop's long history of public feuds, that remains unclear. What is clear is this: in today's media climate, silence doesn't always end a story. Sometimes it feeds it. And until something concrete changes legally, this remains what it has always been, a disputed claim playing out in the public eye, not a proven conclusion. If you'd like, I can rewrite this in a more explosive YouTube-style tone while keeping it legally safe, condense it into a short viral script, or turn it into a documentary-style breakdown with timeline formatting. Here's a more explosive, high-energy continuation, still framed around allegations, timing, and public narrative, rather than presenting claims as proven fact. But he
Never got anything, so why wouldn't I believe my mom? We could have been settled this, and it only takes a conversation and some words. I'm not a hateful guy. I don't hate anyone. I'm not after nobody. I'm not trying to see no one downfall. But this is just some things that just went through court, and they just expected me to just sit there and just take what they were saying.
Raimir Satterthwaite's post thanking Donald Trump and Nicki Minaj didn't just revive an old dispute involving Jay-Z, it reframed it. Because now it doesn't look like a lone claimant fighting a billionaire. It looks like alignment. Nicki Minaj has publicly criticized Jay-Z for years over business grievances connected to Tidal and industry politics. None of those disputes have resulted in court victories in her favor, but her frustration has been loud, especially during high-profile moments like awards season. So when she's suddenly mentioned alongside Rymir, people start asking, coincidence or coordination? Then there's Trump. Regardless of where you stand politically, Trump understands media cycles better than most. When his name appears in the same sentence as hip-hop royalty and sealed court drama, headlines follow. His connection here isn't formal or legal, but the optics alone create impact. And optics are everything. Meanwhile, online chatter exploded again over past Epstein document releases, connected to Jeffrey Epstein and figures like Harvey Weinstein. It's important to note, being mentioned in document dumps or unverified tips is not the same as being charged or found guilty. No court has established wrongdoing by Jay-Z in connection to those matters. But in the social media era, nuance moves slower than speculation. Add to that the resurfacing of old lyrics, amplified by longtime rival 50 Cent, and you get something powerful. Narrative pressure. Here's what makes this situation fascinating. For 15 years, the paternity claim has been dismissed on procedural grounds. Judges have ruled against Rymir's filings, and sanctions were issued in parts of the litigation. Jay-Z has denied the allegations. Yet critics online continue to circle back to one question. Why does this story keep resurfacing? Timing tied to industry tension. Timing tied to public feuds.
Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
And when multiple public figures who have previously clashed with Jay-Z appear in the same orbit of discussion, it creates a perception of momentum, whether coordinated or not. But here's the key distinction. There is no confirmed legal finding establishing paternity. There are no criminal charges connected to the online allegations. There is no official evidence publicly proving the darker claims circulating. What we're witnessing is something different. A pressure campaign in the court of public opinion. In today's climate, reputation can be shaken without a courtroom ever reopening. Social media doesn't require admissible evidence. It requires engagement, and engagement is exactly what this situation is generating. So the real question isn't, is this proven? The real question is, who benefits from the renewed spotlight? Is it Rymir, keeping his claim alive? Is it Nicki, amplifying her broader industry grievances? Is it political players leveraging cultural headlines? Or is it simply the internet doing what it does best, turning unresolved stories into viral storms? One thing is certain, this is no longer just about a DNA test. It's about narrative control. It's about influence. It's about who gets believed and who gets doubted. Before a single piece of new evidence ever enters a courtroom, and until something concrete changes legally, this remains exactly what it has been for years: a disputed claim, a powerful name, and a public that refuses to stop watching. Here's an even more dramatic continuation. Cinematic, intense, but still clearly framed around allegations, public tension, and media narrative rather than stating claims as facts.
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact.
And this is where the temperature really rises. Because when a dismissed court case suddenly collides with celebrity feuds, political names, and viral speculation, it stops being a legal story. It becomes a pressure cooker. For years, Jay-Z has operated from a position of near-total narrative control. Billionaire mogul, industry architect, cultural power broker, the man who rarely responds and rarely has to. But power in 2026 doesn't work the way it did in 2006. Now, silence doesn't shut things down. Sometimes it amplifies them. Rymir Satterthwaite's claim has been dismissed multiple times in court. Judges ruled against reopening the matter. Legal sanctions were issued. From a judicial standpoint, the case hit a wall. But from a public standpoint, it just found oxygen. When Rymir publicly thanked Nicki Minaj and Donald Trump, the optics shifted overnight. Not because either of them confirmed involvement. Not because new evidence surfaced, but because alignment creates intrigue. Nicki has had very public frustrations with Jay-Z over industry business matters. Those disputes remain financial and unresolved in the public eye, not criminal findings. But her tone over the past few years has grown sharper, less corporate, more confrontational. Trump, meanwhile, is no stranger to headline strategy. Whether directly involved or simply referenced, his name entering the conversation guarantees amplification. And amplification is currency. Then you layer in the internet's obsession with document releases, connected to Jeffrey Epstein and figures like Harvey Weinstein. To be clear, being mentioned in unverified tips or large document dumps is not proof of wrongdoing, and Jay-Z has not been charged in connection to those matters. But perception online doesn't wait for indictments. It feeds on proximity. And proximity is what's fueling this fire.
What's the first sucker move that he pulled, in your opinion?
Wow, I got a string of them, but look at me in my face, right? During my trial, look at me in my face telling me, yo, don't worry about it, bro. I got you. And I never see him again.
Add longtime rival 50 Cent resurfacing old lyrics and commentary, and suddenly the moment feels less random and more strategic. But here's the deeper layer most people are missing. This isn't just about whether a DNA test happened. It's about leverage. In high-level power circles, leverage doesn't require a conviction. It requires doubt. Doubt shakes partnerships. Doubt freezes negotiations. Doubt shifts alliances. Even if every allegation remains unproven, even if every court dismissal stands, the conversation alone can create pressure. And pressure creates movement. The internet has essentially built a coalition of narratives, individually, manageable, combined, volatile. But here's what remains grounded in fact. No court has established paternity. No criminal charges have been filed against Jay-Z related to the circulating allegations. No official findings confirm the darker theories spreading online. What exists instead is something modern, narrative warfare. And in narrative warfare, timing is everything. The real question may not be whether any single claim is proven. The real question is whether the convergence of all these voices, critics, rivals, political figures, internet commentators, signals a coordinated effort, or simply the algorithm doing what it does best, colliding controversy for maximum impact. Because empires don't always fall from court rulings. Sometimes they're tested by perception. And perception is harder to appeal.
He, of course, is more than annoyed, would be an understatement.
Yeah.
He has a family and he has a lot to protect, including his brand. But to the extent that he's saying, hey, come after me criminally, that could be likely. Why do I say that? Because in New York, and what's alleged in this complaint is forcible compulsion. What that means in English is that it's saying that he held her down.
Here's a deeper, more cinematic expansion. Intense in tone, but still grounded in what's verified versus what remains allegation or online speculation. Now the story shifts again, because when a dispute survives 15 years of court dismissals, sanctions, and public denials, it stops being about paperwork. It becomes about endurance. Jay-Z has built a career on strategic silence. From early industry battles to boardroom negotiations, his pattern has been consistent. Don't react publicly, let legal outcomes speak. And legally, the Raimir Satterthwaite case has gone nowhere. Courts have rejected repeated filings. Judges have ruled the claims procedurally improper. No paternity has been established. That's the official record. But the unofficial record, the one living online, doesn't close so easily. Because in the digital era, unresolved equals suspicious. When Raimir thanked Nicki Minaj and Donald Trump, it didn't introduce evidence. It introduced momentum. Nicki's public tension with Jay-Z over industry politics and business grievances has been loud, though not legally adjudicated in her favor. Trump's name, whether directly involved or simply referenced, guarantees amplification in any media cycle. Neither action proves coordination, but together they create narrative velocity. And velocity changes perception. Meanwhile, online forums continue dissecting document releases connected to Jeffrey Epstein and figures like Harvey Weinstein. It's critical to state clearly, mentions in broad document disclosures or findings, Jay-Z has not been charged in connection to those matters. But social media rarely waits for that distinction. It works on pattern recognition, real or imagined.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he has to, he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about letting him.
Add commentary from longtime rival 50 Cent, who has reignited public discussion with old lyrics and memes. And suddenly the conversation isn't just legal, it's cultural. Here's what makes this moment different from past flare-ups. The timing intersects multiple narratives at once. Individually, each is manageable. Together, they form a storm. But here's the grounded reality. No DNA test has been court-ordered. No criminal case has been filed related to the allegations circulating. No official investigation has publicly named Jay-Z as a target in connection to the viral claims. What we're witnessing isn't a legal collapse. It's reputational turbulence. And reputational turbulence can influence partnerships, brand negotiations, investor confidence, and public alliances, even without a single indictment. That's the modern battlefield. Not courtrooms, headlines. And here's the psychological layer most people miss.
After that major documentary comes out on Diddy, then you're going to start to hear more and more about Jay-Z and his nefarious.
Silence used to signal strength. Now, silence creates a vacuum, and vacuums get filled by rivals, by critics, by algorithms. The longer a powerful figure says nothing, the more space opens for speculation. But there's another angle worth considering. What if this isn't about proving anything at all? What if it's about pressure? In elite business and entertainment circles, pressure can be leverage. Leverage can shift negotiations. And narrative pressure doesn't require proof, only persistence. Still, separating intensity from evidence matters. Right now, the facts remain. Everything else exists in commentary, timing, and interpretation. And that's what makes this so combustible. Because when perception starts moving faster than verification, stories evolve in real time. And empires are tested not by verdicts, but by volatility.